For assistance on creating 3D scenes and slides, see this documentation. When done, students should test each slide to make certain its settings closely match each aerial as possible. When saving, students need to pay attention to which slide they are using as the initial default view. As an example, see this 3D scene here that I created of the first 15 of the 26 images in the aerial collection. Advance through several slides so that you and your students get the idea. You can ask students to create slides and a scene for images 16 to 26 or start completely over and do all 26. Or use other aerials as I described below. What I like about this activity and assessment: first, it is replicable and extendable, as I described below, for other areas and image types. 2, it is able to be worked through in a short amount of time. 3, it can be adapted for multiple ages from secondary to university level. Younger age students do not even need to sign into ArcGIS Online to do this activity. They could create each slide and screenshot each of them, saving them in a Word or PowerPoint file, for example. Number 4, the assessment builds students' spatial thinking and use of GIS while taking it. Number 5, it's engaging and challenging. Number 6, it's fun for students to do. In fact, Vern described his collection as "come fly with me" to me when he first created it. And when the students are creating slides in their 3D scene, they really do feel like they're up in the airplane with Vern. Extending this activity, here's some ideas. Add additional imagery types in your 3D scene and toggle back and forth between the default base map imagery to, say, nape imagery or the clarity image layer. You will notice the clarity layer as a choice to toggle on and off in the 3D scene I described above. Find additional imagery from aircraft, UAVs, or satellites, and ask students to create 3D scenes matching those images. Start with the ArcGIS Living Atlas of the World, for example, for your imagery sources, and also look for local sources in your area, often served by ArcGIS hub sites. I provide further guidance in this data blog here. You could even add more challenge by asking students to build then versus now scenes using historical aerials, such as these in Iowa, or even these from the spy program from the Cold War. You could even tie another theme with this activity, such as settlement patterns, river systems, landforms, as I wrote about recently here, or others. Assessing this activity. My assessment includes how close the students' 3D scenes come to the number 1, angle of view, 2, orientation or cardinal direction, and 3, the scale of the scene. I avoid getting too granular in my assessment. Rather, I use they match, they're close to matching, and they do not match as the rubric for each of these 3 measures. Additional questions. Name one way that orienting your 3D scene such that north is not necessarily at the top of your scene. How is that helpful? Name one way that orienting your 3D scene such as north is not at the top is not helpful. So why is north at the top helpful and why is it not helpful? What time of day and what season of the year are the original photographs taken? Now, make your best estimation of the time of day and season of the year that the image in your 3D scene was taken. They're not at the same time. What clues help you determine the day and season for your 3D scene? 3. Name 2 differences between the imagery of the aerial versus your 3D scene. This could be the resolution of the imagery, the extent of the aerial and the 3D scene imagery, the colors, or something else. Be sure to specify which image type you are using in your 3D scene, default imagery, clarity imagery, or other image source. Number 4, at the time of this video, late 2021, the aerials are likely to be newer than the satellite images. List 2 changes that you have detected in the natural features, rivers, vegetation, between the aerial and the satellite image. Number 5, list 2 changes that you have detected in human-built features, buildings, roads, etc., between the aerial and the satellite image. Number 6, what is the predominant land use type in your study area? Name 2 occupations that people living here could have. Number 7, what do you think the study area will look like in 10 years, 50 years? What do you think this area looked like 50 years ago? Why? Number 8, compare the amount of change in your study area to the amount of change in your community in which you live. Compare those. Number 9, name 2 natural forces acting on your study area and 2 human-caused forces acting on your study area. Number 10, one of the aerials shows an event happening at the fairgrounds and racetrack in Fargo, for example. Name 2 clues in the aerial that tell you that the event is happening. And is an event happening in the other aerials that you are examining? If yes, what are the clues that you can observe? Number 11, pan and zoom your 3D scene until you find a river. Change the base map to imagery with labels or topographic base map so you will know the name of the river. Follow the river downstream until you find the river or lake it drains into. How can you determine which direction is upstream and which direction is downstream? Keep following it until you reach an ocean. Which rivers and lakes did the water drain in your original study area on its path to the ocean, and which ocean did it drain into? What, if any, major cities does the river pass through on its journey? Name 1 reason why that city is located on the river. Zoom back into your study area with your original imagery base map. Then zoom out from your study area shown in your current 3D scene slide until you see the entire region and maybe most of the continent. In which state, country, and continent was the aerial photo taken? How far is the study area from your own location? Use the measure tool in the 3D scene viewer to find out. And last, but certainly not, the end of questions you could ask your own question about this area. In other words, you ask the students to come up with their own question, and then can they answer their own question? It's okay if you cannot answer your own question. Some questions need additional research to answer. Interested in developing your own geospatial thinking assessment instrument? Well, the community needs your contribution. I'm asked about valid assessment tools on a weekly basis, and the literature is full of comments about the lack of these tools. Besides the assessments that I mentioned here, another helpful framework you could use is the structured geospatial analytical method from Penn State. It begins with asking, how can one teach the cognitive skills needed to approach geospatial analysis? To see this in action, examine the Learner's Guide to Geospatial Analysis. Other useful frameworks are in this Geoscience Habits of Mind document, and the document that in many ways started this renewed emphasis on fostering spatial thinking through geotechnologies, the 2006 National Research Council report, Learning to Think Spatially. But I also encourage you to make rigorous use of web maps, 3D scenes, web mapping applications such as story maps and dashboards, spatial analysis tools, and others in the ArcGIS platform. In so doing, I'm sure that you will think of many creative ways to assess your students' work. Thanks.